This is the 5 Grandmasters game with one beginner. The yellow player is a beginner rank player called Dark Wolf. And all other players in this game are Grandmasters. So naming them all in the turn order from the top, the orange player is Rudolph the Daddy, the red player is Me Champion Ever, the purple player is Storm, the black player is the Silent Legend 19, and the white player is the Kill Pete strategy, or simply as Pete, famous risk YouTuber, and if you want to check him out, I will leave the link to his social media in the description. We are playing with a progressive card bonus in which the continents are not as much important as playing with fixed cards, at least when it comes to the classic risk map, though they could still be a very great bonus and give a player a good boost, and especially if he gets one early. So because of that reason I decided to prevent the white player from immediately getting South America by fortifying some more troops here, so he wouldn't have a better advantage in comparison with other players. And then it looks like all continents are taken care also, like nobody could get Australia without wasting lots of troops, which wouldn't be very smart, and other continents with a bunch of different players' troops in them are not really suitable to be gone for either. So I think it's going to be a standard Grandmaster rank player's progressive card game from what it looks like. I haven't played one in a while, so I'm really excited and wondering how it goes. In progressive card games it could be very important to be spread out well, and by that I mean to have some different armies in different places of the map. So for example, I have my troops in the South America, Africa, Asia and North America continents, so in 4 different continents, but my South American and African troops are not really separated from each other. There is just one troop territory in between, so basically it just makes me 3 spots. Though then looking to my 5 troops in Asia as well, all of these 3 armies could be accessible to another player in a straight 1 troop territories line, without those armies being blocked by other player armies, so technically I could be considered being in just 2 spots. But I think maybe eventually those Asian troops could become more separated. And now with the yellow player leaving her army in North Africa, my South American army became cut off, so practically I'm in 3 spots again. And now with my African troops I'm moving to the bottom of Africa, so then those African troops could become separated by other players' armies too, and there would be a good hiding spot for me from some other players who wouldn't have a direct access to them. Though that spot has just been taken by the black player, though in case the orange player doesn't move in, I could take the black player's old African spot, which is very good as well. What I don't really like about my position on the board, is that I neither have some troops in Australia, nor have a direct access to it. So that basically means that I could have a very big struggle when it comes to taking the yellow, black and purple players out, and especially yellow with black, as the purple player's 6 troops work as a shield for them on Indonesia, and the white player's 5 troops work as a shield for them on Siam. Though when it comes to the yellow player I don't really care that much, as she is the player before me when it comes to the turn order, meaning that she will likely trade in all of the sets before me, and the same thing when it comes to the orange player, meaning that mostly I should pay the attention on being suitable to go for the purple, black and white players, or the players who go after me the turn order. But like I mentioned, I could have a big struggle when it comes to taking the black and purple players out, and especially when the purple player has another unreachable army to me in Japan being shielded by the black and yellow player's troops. So basically all that's left for me in the current moment is the white player. I have the access to absolutely all of his armies, so taking that into account, I will be setting my troops in the way to be able to take him out, and at the same time I will try to make good troop proportions, so to not add too many troops in the place I do not need to, as from what it looks like no other player would be as suitable to go for me as white, so just the question is whether it will be worth for me to go for him after me trading in my second set, as I wouldn't like to take out players just because I could. I always need to evaluate the value. Now looking from another perspective, switching from the view of a hunter to being someone hunted, the players who are the biggest threats for me is orange and yellow, as they both have the turns before me, meaning that they will trade in their sets before me so as long as they have them, though another thing is that they will be the ones receiving the sets with the lowest value, so even though they will both have the access to my armies, it might just simply be not worth for them to take me out. But ideally, if possible, it would be great to be hid from them. Now looking to my opponent's troops distribution strategy, the most interesting strategy is probably the yellow player's one. She has two of her armies in choke points, North Africa and Kamchatka. Her North African army prevents the route of other players going from Africa to South America and vice versa, and her Kamchatkan army prevents the other players going from North America to Asia and vice versa. So that is a very smart strategy used by the yellow player, and when you use that strategy, make sure to have these armies big enough on those choke points, and that's what she does, as otherwise if you leave very small armies on them, then with other players needing the access to go through those choke points to reach other continents, those troops could just be simply crushed then. But also at the same time, it's important to have some spots which you could hide and be harder reachable as well. So for example, the yellow player has a very good hiding spot in Australia. So like if I or the orange player, or even the white player wanted to take her out, we really couldn't without wasting a bunch of troops on the other players in order to reach her Australian army out. In my turn, as you saw, I basically added all of my troops gotten from trading an A set on my Asian army, is because I see a really great straight line to take the white player's troops in Australia, Europe and top right North American territory without me needing to do troop splits or crushing some bigger armies of the other players. But also at the same time, if it won't be worth, or if for some reason I won't be able to go for the white player anymore, my big army in Asia is really suitable to go in multiple different directions, so even if I don't get white, it's still a great spot to have my army at. But as of now, I'm really looking forward to take the white player out, so as long as if it is worth it. The thing what makes it complicated that as the last player he received the biggest value sets, so now he has the most of troops, so due to that it might not even be worth to take him out, we will see. But the reachability and pathing wise, he is a very juicy target for me, or if going by the white player's terminology, then I think I should call him a fish for me. He's a really big fish in this game, not only for me but for other players as well. That's kind of a downside of the sixth player who trades in the sets last, with all of the players trading in their sets before him, so unless he has a set at 3 cards, then I think he won't be surviving the next round. But also another juicy target for me has become the purple player. She is the most suitable player to go for me currently. While she wasn't accessible at first, now she really is, as the opportunity was created for me by the black player stopping shielding her Asian troops on Japan, and the white player stopping shielding her Australian troops on Indonesia. So I would have really gone for her over the white player, but surprisingly the orange player didn't have a set at 5 cards, so I think I'm switching my attention to going for him. I wouldn't like to leave him for someone else with even 5 cards. I think that extra card could really make a difference, so even though the purple player was still more suitable for me, at the end I decided to prioritize going for the orange player. I wanted to have 100% blitzes on the orange player's smaller armies, so at the end I noticed I ran a bit short of troops for the orange player's biggest army, but at the end it was still 88%, so I wasn't going to leave him like that. And also, as you saw, since I had the biggest possibility to fail on that army, I obviously started from it, while leaving the 100% blitzes for the smaller armies at the end. Then after taking the orange player out, I looked around to see if I could take someone else out as well, but it looked that I didn't, so then I just started to think where I should place my troops at, and I decided that the spot after all will probably be that same Asian territory, so to be as less blocked to the important places as possible in contrast with my already captured territories. Anyway, so as you can see, the purple player got a bad blitz roll to take the black player out, but it's the black player's turn, and with only one of his armies weakened he is pretty much still alive, and it looks like he is about to take the white player out if he gets good enough blitzes for white's troops. And it looks like it. Let's say a bye-bye to the white player. That was actually so close of him surviving, and might even winning the whole game. If the black player hadn't gone for him, then I assume the white player, if he had a set, would have gone for me, and with that I assume he would have been pretty much guaranteed to win. So I think that was really unlucky for the white player, but at the same time very lucky for all other players and especially me, as now I might be the one who has the biggest chances to win. And yes I am, as I do have a set, so I'm not a fish for another player who might have a set at 3 cards. Though it looks like nobody is at 4 cards, so I wouldn't be able to trade in a set in the same turn, and I think I might not be that viable to go for 2 players at once. That's not that likely for other players to have a set at 3 cards, but even if they do, there should still be the purple player for me left, so I just decided to prepare for the next turn. I assume the purple player tries to expand to increase her number of territories, but I think 15 territories won't be still enough. The black player goes with the same strategy, but I think after the camera animations off update, that strategy is not really that much working anymore, so unless you really have like a ton of territories, then that could still work, so as long as your opponent doesn't play on the computer and spam the enter key, as if he does, then he is able to take over all of the map and nothing unfortunately you could do about that. The yellow player is taking out the black player, but she has 0 cards, so obtaining 4 cards luckily she won't be able to trade in a set. But that's actually even more unfortunate to the yellow player by missing that black Asian territory. So it looks like the game is completely mine, though it would have still been, as then before taking out the purple player I would have just captured a bunch of yellow players' territories, and then after taking out the purple player out and getting the timer reset by 30 seconds, I would have finished taking out the yellow player as well. But unfortunately the disconnection struck at the crucial moment, and even though at my screen it showed that I successfully took the black player out, unfortunately the disconnection took me a few attacks back, and with not even enough time to take the black player out again, just having to capture 2 territories. Though with very luckily getting a horse next to my soldier and cannon, I know what, I have a set at 3 cards, so taking out the purple player out I will basically guarantee the game for myself. Well, unfortunately not anymore. So unless the yellow player blunders this game, but it's very unlikely. Actually it might be even more interesting that the game has turned out like that, as otherwise it would have just been another casual victory for me, while not every day a beginner rank player beats even 5 Grandmasters. Now I would recommend you checking out the legendary match of the 6 Grandmasters. This video is very insane and interesting as well, so just all of the players are Grandmasters.